Welcome back to the Residual Earners Podcast, episode 49. And today we have just an amazing guest. He is an unbelievable husband, an unbelievable father. He is so business savvy, unbelievable entrepreneur. He is the host of the Kaleb Bryan podcast. I'm assuming you can guess his name from that. I'm Jordan.
I'm Presley.
And today we have Mr. Kaleb Bryan on the podcast.
What an intro. Thank you.
The intros are getting better around here.
Intros are, yeah.
I feel like once I hit a year, they're really going to elevate. We're three episodes away.
Yeah.
Every week now for 49 weeks, we will podcast out.
Yeah, you've got a radio voice.
I don't know about that. Presley's got the radio voice.
I'm just happy to be here sitting between you two studs.
That's it. So, guys, Kaleb and I have been friends for a while. He is in the car business, the same exact business that we were in. He is a mentor of ours in the car business for a long time. I'm telling you, he is so savvy in the business world, and we're lucky to get him on here.
Yeah, excited to be on.
And he loves the Lord, which
Loves the Lord.
I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stars just align here.
I mean,
So get us going. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. I think everybody's journey is so unique. When you find someone who's, walked through their life and found success, you start to peel back the layers and you uncover just these wild stories.
Yeah.
And you start discovering that you start discovering their motivation, the why behind them, and what drives them. And for me, my story, when you uncover those layers, it starts with my family. Starts with my mom and where she came from. My mom, she was born in a shack. I'm not exaggerating. She was born in a shack with a floor of dirt, and she was born on a ranch. Her family delivered her, and she was born in Mexico, and they were what you refer to as dirt poor. That was dirt poor. They were dirt poor, and it's funny, they weren't financially wealthy or any of that or even savvy, but they were happy. There was a lot of principles there that I got to grow up learning about what happiness is, and I think that that humbled me as I grew up, because it created this hunger, this need for more, this want for more, this want for a better life. And as I grew up, my mom, she ended up graduating college, which was a huge thing. She became a nurse, huge thing.
Yeah.
I mean, take the idea or the concept of a millionaire going billionaire, or someone who comes from scratch becoming a millionaire. That gap, that journey, how far of a journey that was. And for her, coming from a floor of dirt, being born in a shack and growing up in a shack in Mexico and becoming a nurse. I mean, it's the same journey. It's almost going from a millionaire to a billionaire, or zero to millionaire.
it may be harder.
It probably was harder.
Yeah,
It probably was harder. Yeah. And so, hearing that story, and that's just on my mom's side, hearing that story, for the first time, and then going there and visiting my family, and growing up as a kid, going to Mexico. I grew up on the border of Mexico, in the valley, and so I grew up in Harlingen, Texas, born and raised, all the way through about 17 years old. And we would cross the border. It would take us 15 minutes to get across the border. And when you cross the border as a kid, back to when I can remember, maybe age of 6 years old, I'm crossing the bridge, and there's kids there with milk cartons empty, and they're shaking it, rattling it, and there's a stick attached to a milk carton. They're under a bridge, and they're tapping the fence, and they're asking all the tourists and all the people crossing for the day for coins. And then there's little kids, 3 years old, laying in the street just there. And as a young kid coming from the valley, and it's not like I'm coming from much, but I see that and I'm like, whoa, I must have it. I'm blessed. And so it resonated with me early of what, the things matter, what things matter in life, and just what kind of blessings I have as a young kid. So yeah, my mother, she became a nurse, and everybody rallied around that. because it was a huge celebration that she had made it. And, in my home, she was a nurse. My dad was a mechanic. And maybe they felt that was it. That was a good life. But then here I am, right? The next generation. And one important thing about my mom is that at the age of 11, she was sent to the fields in the northern United States, Wyoming, Montana, and she would work 12-hour days in the fields. And she would pick, strawberries, fruits. If they were down in Florida, they would pick oranges and, different fruits. But she would go to the fields every single summer, the entire summer, the whole family of 9. So she had 7 brothers and sisters plus her parents, including her. So there was a family of 9. They'd go up to the north, go pick their fruits, hands and knees. I've got photos. It's incredible. I'm framing them and putting them in my office because I want to stay reminded. But, they'd go there, work 12-hour days. They'd be in a camp with, 40 other people, 50 other people sharing one restroom, showering outside, no clean water, none of that. And they'd make around $2,000 to $2,500 for the entire summer, them and their family. They'd come back and, they'd come back and they would try to go to school and get an education. She did that from the age of 11 to 18, working in the fields. And so I look at myself, what did I do from 11 to 18? And it's just a huge reflection of what motivates me, what inspires me. And that's just my mom's story. But yeah, so I grew up in the Valley and I grew up knowing that story. And I grew up, hearing these stories of them. And for them, it wasn't like, oh, they weren't really bragging. I mean, there was no bragging about this. This was actually a story that was muffled. No. This was a hidden story in our family. They didn't want to talk about it. It was not fun. It was not exciting. I mean, they weren't writing books. No one wrote a book on this. They weren't on a podcast talking about it. But I hear these stories and I'm like, holy cow, I got to do something. I mean, it was just like a motivation to go be something greater. Yeah. Because if they can do that and then multiply and compound where, they came from, the story here is the learning lesson from this is that we can truly be whatever we want to be. Yeah. Background does not define us. Where we come from does not define us. I mean, Presley knows this. Jordan, you know this. Yeah. That's the story that resonated with me and what inspired me to push and to think outside the box and to want more, desire more. So yeah, growing up in Harlingen, Texas, my dad grew up just training me like y'all. Grew up training me for baseball, and the idea was I become a pro baseball player. That was the concept since the age of 3. Hitting grounders and just spending so much father-son time in the fields, in the baseball fields, not the fields up north. Yeah. In the baseball fields,
just a little different there.
Yeah. Yeah, so training in the baseball fields, trying to become a pro baseball player. So through high school, trying to get myself in front of scouts, but we're in the Valley. There's no big recruiting network in the Valley. There's not a lot of players being looked at. There's not a lot of teams coming down making the drive. I mean, just think about then, which was in the early 2000s. Which teams are taking the flight even to the Valley? Yeah, I mean, you got to almost like catch a flight out of Houston to go to the Valley. There's a lot of airlines that don't even fly direct. No, so it's the Valley International Airport. And just to think about just convenience. A lot of guys.
I've never heard of the Valley International Airport.
Yeah, exactly.
I have been to the Valley International
You've done
Airport
meetings in Harlingen.
Many times.
But that's that's not normal.
Mission, Texas, home of Tom Landry.
Yeah. Mission, Texas. So, I mean, just think about the difference of opportunity when you grow up in Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, and these Texas towns that are bigger. You go to the Valley, these small little towns, and it's just you don't have a lot of light, a lot of spotlight on you. And so, we're busting our butts. And I think we went to state. We went to state in 2007. We lost the championship game to a Houston team. But because we went to state, we had a lot of scouts there, and I got picked up from a school out of St. Louis, and they gave me a full ride scholarship to go out to St. Louis, and man, I mean, that was like a big thing for my family. I mean, to not have to pay for college, it was like a big relief. My dad's a mechanic, my mom's a nurse, and it was like the whole family was just all around, like it was like I made it to the MLB. I was like, hey,
this is draft day, baby.
Yeah, this is draft day, baby. Let's go. So, it was a proud moment, and working with a growth coach, there's something to be said about these small moments. People have to think small. They have to appreciate the small things in order to continue to walk that journey in life by celebrating the small moments. We think so big all the time. I want to write a book. I want to film a movie. I want to build a business that does 100 million revenue or maybe $1 billion in revenue. But what about all those small wins? And we have to count those small wins. And
well, if you think about it, there's not that many big moments in your life.
Yeah.
And if you're not enjoying the small moments,
amen,
those big moments are few and far between. So I agree 100%. It's all about the little things.
And I want to stop you there for a second, because I think your philosophy in business and the car business and our philosophy in the car business were two different philosophies. And obviously, towards the end, we quickly tried to adapt your philosophy. But what it sounds like to me is, when you're talking about the small things and how our visions are so big, which is not a negative, but it's got the difference in how I think you did the car business is you built the foundational blocks to create success, to let you go whatever direction you want to go. And now if you said, I want to be big, you're set up to do it. If you want to say, hey, I'm happy where I'm at, you're set up to, thrive. So it's like, I think by hearing what you're saying, you focus on the foundational blocks in life and business that then allow you to pivot and can go whichever direction you want to go after that.
Yeah, that's it. Well said. Yeah, well said.
So finish the career. You went to St. Louis, played baseball.
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened?
Yeah. So I was in the MLB.
Well,
No.
the Cardinals, huh?
Yeah.
Did you see Jordan while you were
Yeah,
there?
I saw him.
Yeah.
I saw him. I was on the bench. Yeah, so got picked up, went to a school out in St. Louis, and at the time it was a NIA. What is it called?
NAIA.
NAIA. Yeah, NAIA. Now it's a D1, which now they're playing all the big schools out there, and a little late for it, but it's okay. No, but I went out there and trained my butt off. It was a great experience. It was really great because I left at the age of 17 years old. My birthday falls in the summer, so I'm in college and I'm 17, and I had never even seen snow. I mean, just think about this. I never went on a vacation growing up. Like me, my mom, my dad, no vacation.
Yeah.
My vacations were baseball. That was our getaway. That was our escape. That and fishing. But I didn't know any better. What's a vacation? I'm having fun fishing. I'm having fun playing baseball. I'm having fun visiting my family. There was no desire for those things because I didn't know any better. But I get out for the first time at the age of 17, and then all of a sudden, November hits and it is effing cold. I mean, I'm out there running sprints on the field, on the football field. Coach has got us running. We got 2-a-days in the off season, and we're doing sprints in the freezing cold, and all of a sudden ice starts hitting me. I'm like, what is this stuff? I'd never seen anything like it in the valley. The temperatures, we don't get snow. We just don't get anything like that. So, just working through it mentally, it was a real different year because I was just experiencing so many new things.
Yeah.
And I'm busting my butt to try to get a starting position. I don't end up getting the starting position. I find out, they run the rosters and early the following year, and I find out I'm not going to get a starting position. They have these seniors, juniors and seniors that are sort of set up in the middle infield, and it was just for me. I went there to play, and I went there to get experience, and right or wrong, I made the decision to inform the coach that I wouldn't be traveling with the team that season, and that I wanted to go back to Texas, and that I'll figure out how to get recruited in Texas. And so in January, I start sending emails, to every coach in Texas. Here we go. And we don't have these highlight reels from Instagram at the time. It's 2008, and we don't have these apps that store all of our highlight reels. So I'm putting together these DVDs, sending them to coaches and trying to digitize them and put them in an email. and just marketing myself and exhausting myself. I'm going to U of H, I'm going to St. Mary's, I'm going to all these different schools. And eventually, so you know what, I'll go back to my roots. I'll look at, the cheapest schools in Texas, and I'll figure out how to pay for tuition, because I'm going to lose my scholarship. The decision forced me to lose my scholarship. And for my dad, it was really tough for him to swallow, because it was almost like I was quitting baseball, and financially it was a burden. So it was a decision that impacted my family. And in a sense, I was failing, and failing myself, failing my family. But it was a good decision, looking back, because I made the decision for myself, which is important. And so that whole entire semester I spent, trying to pitch myself, and eventually talked to a coach out in Corpus Christi A&M, and he said, well, you can try to walk on. And so here I am, I'm busting my butt to get prepared to try to walk on to Corpus A&M. And that summer I moved back. I moved to Corpus Christi, where I'm going to be, playing or attempting to play. And I join a team, and we're traveling, and we're playing quite a bit in Mexico. And the last game of the summer was my last baseball game I had ever played, and it was the best baseball game I've ever played in my life. That summer we were in Mexico, and I don't know if y'all know this. Oh, you've played in Mexico probably. Mm-hmm. But, we're just 30 minutes, 45 minutes off the border. So we're not playing anywhere nice. We're somewhere, Matamoros, Progreso, somewhere around there, in Tamaulipas. And one of the guys don't show up. We have 8. And we're like, gosh, well, we need 9. My dad, he's like, well, we're in Mexico. I'll play. and looking back, that was the last baseball game I ever played. He was in on that game, and in my last at bat, I hit a walk-off home run, dead to center. It was a wood bat game, and having my dad on the field, coming out of the dugout, playing in the game, just coming in, giving me a hug after that walk-off. I just remember just great moments.
Memory you'll never forget.
No, man, no. And so the story is not about this big success of making it onto a team, because shortly after, I go to A&M, and that semester I try to walk on, and same thing. They've already got their established roster. They've got guys that have been playing him who've earned that position. Yeah. And I'm thinking I'm good enough to just put me in front, coach. Set them aside. I'm the man. I'm the man. But they don't know me. They don't know my track record. And so I had an opportunity to walk on, and they actually didn't choose to put me on the team. And at that time, it forced a pivot in my life. And I go back, and now I'm sitting in an empty apartment in Corpus Christi. My dad is, thinking, what is my son going to do? Right? Because he's trained this kid to be a baseball player his whole life. And, I'm in my apartment, and I'm in an empty apartment. It's nothing fancy in Corpus Christi, that's for sure. And so I, with my time, I enrolled to a community college, because now I'm thinking I got to pay for my own tuition. So I'm figuring out where's the cheapest schooling I can get. I enroll in community college, and I start looking on Craigslist for a TV. I need to get a TV. And this is wild. I get on Craigslist, I find a TV, and I said, man, I bet you I can get this for a deal. And I start, looking for TVs, trying to compare. I ended up buying this TV at the time. It was like a DLP, where they have those fat back ends, and they're kind of flat in the front. Buy it for like $200, and go to pick it up, put it in my apartment. And that night I get the TV back, and I say to myself, I bet I can sell this thing. And you know what? I had nothing else to do, nothing better to do. And I didn't have a job, so pressure was on. So I put the TV back on Craigslist the same day I bought it. The following day, someone offers me $400 cash. And, I'm thinking, holy cow, this is wild. I'd never made money like that before. I'd been playing baseball. I don't know how to make money. So the person comes over to my apartment, and they pick up the TV, give me $400. I double my money. And I'm like, holy cow, can I do this again? I get back on Craigslist, and I start looking for TVs. So fast forward that semester, I end up buying and selling TVs a couple every single week, and starting to compound this little $200 that I had. And now I'm starting to make, $1,000 a week just from flipping TVs on Craigslist. And I'm starting to build this idea that I don't have to get a job. And I tell a bunch of young people out there, and for residual earners too. If I share this concept quite a bit with people that struggle to jump into entrepreneurship, or who are doubting their ability to go generate revenue. And this is good for the audience of residual earners, because I share this with the youngsters especially. Is the sooner you replace your salary, the sooner you replace your hourly position, you'll never have to look back. Yep. The sooner you replace your salaried money, your income, with revenue that you're generating on your own, you're not imprisoned anymore. You can start. Yes, it's not automatically just going to keep on coming in, right? You've got to put in the effort. But as soon as you can prove the concept that you can make $1,000 a week for the next 8 weeks, could you bet that you'd make another $1,000 a week for the next following 8 weeks? Probably, if you give the same effort. Yeah. And that's what happened to me at the age of 18 years old. I found that I could flip TVs and I could make $1,000 a week for 8 weeks straight. And I said, I don't need a job. I could fail and go get a job if I fail, but until I fail and land just flat on my face, there is no point of ever looking back. I mean, I was in sprint mode at this point. I was like, oh, baby, to the moon. Yeah. I'd never made that much money in my life.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
That's a good story. Because I think, I've always wondered, watching your work ethic, all the things you've accomplished, like, where did your motivation come? Because, you're a very disciplined person.
Thanks, man.
Like, you're always... if it's working out, if it's cold plunging, if it's, every day doing these disciplines, focusing on your business, working long hours when needed to. Obviously, in the position you're in now, there's more freedom that comes with after working so hard for a long time. But, I definitely have a better idea, and I hope everybody at home has a better idea for, where your discipline comes from and kind of what's led to success. And I think another thing is there's multiple ways to achieve success, and it sounds like, your upbringing led a lot to the motivation behind your success. Everybody doesn't have a story like that, but it's so interesting to kind of, dig into the weeds, like you said earlier, peel back those layers to kind of see where everything stems from.
Yeah. Yeah, and the funny thing about the word discipline is not a lot of people know the definition of discipline. Definition of discipline is training for functionality. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until weeks ago.
What's your definition of discipline, Dad?
Doing what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it, whether you feel like it or not.
Yeah. That's another form.
I've heard that one, but
I haven't heard that one.
Use, so.
I fall in the category of not knowing it.
Yeah, and I did too. And someone brought it up, and it was about it was about leading people. And when someone doesn't do what is expected of them, people always think, oh, well, you're going to have to discipline them. Well, what does discipline look like? What's actually the proper way to discipline somebody? Because growing up, there's getting spanked. From a parenting standpoint, you can spank the kid, you can put him in timeout. It's all these sort of these negative approaches, or what sounds negative, but it's good for the child, right? Child needs to be disciplined. But at the end of the day, the purpose of discipline is to train for functionality, because you're expecting them to perform at a certain level or to perform a certain standard. And if they don't understand that they need to train for functionality, what is the functionality that they're training for? And so you got to show them. Yeah. You got to show them how to do it at some point. Because I'm not going to get mad at my son for not knowing how to hit a ball off a tee. I'm going to discipline him by showing him, son, okay, hey, this is keep your hands together, slow it down, keep your eye on the ball, right? And so we're training for functionality. That's discipline.
Yep.
So fun fact.
Hey, you're a phenomenal success, cars, real estate, lending, all that. Walk us through kind of how your business career got going and how you've gone from one aspect to another.
Yeah. So we'll go to the TV business and wrap up the TV business. So in Corpus, that TV flipping business, I was flipping TVs out of my apartment, and eventually I moved to a rental home, and I get on Google, and I'm like, how can I scale this thing? I'm tired of buying TVs on Craigslist. I was going to San Antonio in a little wooden trailer, picking up TVs and increasing my purchases. And And at some point, I'm like, all right, I need to either borrow money or find, TVs for cheaper. So I Google, wholesale TVs, and this word came up. I didn't know the word when I was younger. It was a liquidation. And I didn't know that, liquidation had to do with hotels liquidating their equipment, their inventory, things like that, or big companies. There's liquidators that liquidate that, have wholesale, huge containers filled with different items. And so I found a company called Orlando Liquidators out of Orlando, Florida. And I call them up and I said, guys, I'm ready to make an order for $200,000. Didn't have it. I'm ready to make an order for $200,000. What's the best price you can give me on these TVs? I'm just trying to figure out what their best price is, right? Trying to act like a player. I'm 19. And they said, well, we'll give you A-grade TVs, which is Sony, LG, and Samsung for X amount. Here's the sizes. And we'll give you, B-grade, which is Vizio and these sort of off-brand TVs at the time. Vizio was at the time very off-brand. And we'll give you those for those prices. I said, cool. Let me put a test order for $15,000. Just like bring them right back to the bottom. And at the time, I have $10,000 saved. And so I call my brother-in-law, and my brother-in-law's like, all right, I'll loan you $5,000. If I don't see it back, it'll be the last time I loan you $5,000. So I said, no problem. I'll pay you $1,000 on top. So he gives me the $5,000. I make the order to Florida, $15,000. They send me about 40 TVs. And the 40 TVs come, and there's a photo of this. It's just really cool to remember. I'm 19, about to turn 20. This 18-wheeler shows up in my neighborhood, and the 18-wheeler driver jumps out, and I'm waiting for him. I'm waiting, 3 weeks for this order. My life's on the line. And these 40 TVs are put up in an 18-wheeler, and the guy gets out and said, where's the loading dock? And I said, sir, the loading dock's my driveway. We're going to have to figure it out. He's like, well, that's going to be extra. I'm like, look, man, I'm going to help you unload these. There's no need for this extra stuff. I'm going to help you unload these TVs. We get all the TVs unloaded. I drop 40 TVs on my driveway. I'm blasting text out to all the people in Corpus Christi. That day, I sold half the TVs. I had a crowd of people come over to my house. The cops got called. One of the cops told his buddy because he found out the prices. The buddy came and ended up buying a TV from me. No one cared. That day, too, something special happened. A guy that owned a warehouse, a Kmart in the city, said, what can we do for you to put your TVs on my shelves? He just had no TVs. He had no electronics. And so his last name was Patel. And he said, my cousins, they own a lot of hotels here in South Texas. Why don't we put your TVs on my shelf, and I'll connect you with my cousins too, and we'll split some of the profits on the shelves for the people that walk in. I said, yeah, great. Do you have a loading dock? And he's like, yeah, I have a loading dock. I'm like, thank God. Okay, let's do this. So I ended up selling out the first week, got all my money back, made some money. I think I made $5,000 or $7,500, whatever it was. Made my money back, and I called my brother-in-law. Hey, I want to make an order for $60,000. At this point, I've got $15,000 or whatever, $20,000, and I need $45,000 from you. All right, this is the last time. Same speech, and I borrowed the money from him, and and we agreed to give him a little bit of money on top, and I'd hold the money for a month or something. So I make the order this time, $60,000. I remember this. I bought 225 TVs, and it was a huge order. And so I've got those TVs coming, and I've got the warehouse already set up where we've got the displays set up at the Kmart, and the guy makes an intro to his cousins. Sure enough, and he said, "Hey, I've got a cousin that owns, a Best Western here, a Motel 8 here." And I'm starting to make my trips to these hotels, and come to find out that these motels and hotels are having a problem with theft. And so I end up asking my supplier, do you have the TVs with a theft chip behind them that can prevent theft? And he said, oh yeah, we've got those. Do you want your TVs to, do you want those? And I said, yes, throw them in the order. So I negotiate contracts seasonally with these hotels, and I ended up making a contract where I service the TVs on a quarterly basis, and I end up providing all the TVs to these hotels. And one Patel shared me with another Patel. That Patel shared me with another Patel, and I start building contracts up with hotels and motels all throughout South Texas: Corpus Christi, Kingsville, Alice, Texas, Robstown, Harlingen. Just hitting up everybody in South Texas. And I'm like, holy crap, I'm going to be a millionaire. Like this is crazy. So I'm starting to now, and at the same time, I'm in community college and I'm working on my life, growing as a young kid. Here's where the story takes a major change. I'm 20 years old and I get a call from my sister, and I had just enrolled in engineering school. I just finished my basic education at community college, and I enrolled at Texas A&M Kingsville because at this time I could now afford to pay the tuition there. It was $5,000 a semester, and I could afford to pay the tuition with my TV money. And I'm paying some guys to take notes for me in class because I'm over here hustling TVs. That's the truth. I mean, I was spending more time at the motels and hotels in Kingsville, Texas than in class at the time. But I get a call from my sister, and my sister says, "Hey, Dad's sick." And that and she was really serious. I could hear it in her voice, I could hear it in her tone. And my dad had always been in okay health, but he never really took care of himself. He was out on the water all the time, fishing with all his free time in the sun, just really not taking care of himself, hydrating well, the things that we know today. And I get that call, and I run down, and my dad is, he's in a medical office, and they're examining him, and he looks at me. He's like, "Son, I don't think I'm doing good." And I'm like, "Oh, Dad, don't tell me that. There's no way." It's like sitting here next to Presley, just alive and just full of life. And I didn't believe it. I'm joking with him. I actually took a video of him, just messing with him, because I didn't believe it. And so I'm like, "All right, Dad, well, let me know how the results are. I'm going to go back to Kingsville. I'm going to go back to school." So that following week, I go back to school, and I think it was about 2 days later on a Tuesday, I'm in class, and I get a text from my mom. My mom says, "Hey, you need to come down." And my dad was put in the ICU 2 days later, and he had a lot of trouble breathing. He was immediately put on a respirator when he was in the ICU. And so I run down to the hospital in the Valley, Valley Baptist Medical Center. I go down there and I visit him, and he's just, in a total different mood. I could tell something was going on. I didn't know what was going on. I'm asking doctors. I'm just a kid, I'm focused on business. I'm 20 years old. And I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with my dad. The world has stopped. I talked to the doctors, and they tell me he has pneumonia. He has really, really bad pneumonia. I'm like, "What do you mean bad pneumonia? How is that going to make him look the way he is and responding the way he is?" And a day later, he is then put on I think it's called intubator, where they put the tube down your throat. And now he can't breathe on his own. And now he can't talk, on his own because he's got this tube down his throat. So I didn't really get to have good conversation with him, nothing like that. Things got serious really quickly. Now I'm emailing my class, my engineering professors, "Hey, I'm not going to make it into school this week." Just everything, business. "Hey, I have a friend at the time who I'm just paying, helping me sell the TVs for all the people that are coming over to the house. Kmart, I've got people going into Kmart. I've got hotel owners it's just me and my friend running the business, 20 years old. And I stay there with my dad for about a week and a half. I go back up to Kingsville to try to get caught up on some stuff. And, 2 days later, I get another phone call, "You need to come down." So I go down there, and, we're 3 weeks into this deal. And he gets put into this almost like a critical ICU room. And the doctor's like, "This is not good. He's got swine flu at this point. He's got swine flu, and it's going to take him out." And so at the time in 2008, 2009, they have this, this is in 2010, February of 2010, he had a virus, and that virus, just like COVID, in a sense, when your immune system's so shot and you get a virus like COVID or you get a virus like swine flu, it just completely takes you out. You've got nothing fighting to defend yourself. And, he was holding a baseball. He was holding a baseball. And I told him I was going to throw that baseball with him after the fact, and because I really thought we were going to play catch again. And I was just trying to give him, just trying to lift his spirits, give him motivation, something to fight for. Yeah. Yeah. So that morning, we wake up that morning. I get a phone call from the doctor, and I'm with my mom, and we end up going to the hospital, and that was our last morning with him. Man, that was tough. We said a prayer. We gathered around as a family, said a prayer over him, and basically disconnected the machine. And that was a blow. Tough to talk about.
Definitely
Tough to talk about, but it's important to talk about because people need to hear that all this success, all this stuff they see online, all these things, like, man, people fight every day. People fight some major battles, and the cool thing about this is that that was in my journey a really big battle to overcome the loss of a father. And when you overcome these obstacles that are so great, it's just it's a reminder to the audience that you can overcome whatever you're confronting, whatever battle you have, whether it's addiction, whether it's losing a family member, or you're stuck, you feel stuck. Can you imagine in that moment where I lose my best friend and I have nothing to really turn to, and what really grounded me in that moment was my faith. And what else do I have? I'm not grabbing my money. I'm not grabbing my business vendors. What am I searching for, right? I turned to God and I said, God, what do we have here? Why? This is my best friend, my everything. And again, another moment where I learned what kind of blessings I had. And I'm wondering, where's my life going to go now? Because those blessings that I really appreciated, that I valued throughout my whole entire childhood, throughout my upbringing as a young man, were gone and taken. And it leaves me in question. And, and I look back on that and I say, wow, what an incredible lesson that was. Now growing, because it's been 15 years, since that day. And I've grown and obviously thought a lot about that moment, about that event that happened, because there's only a couple life events, like Presley said earlier, that really impact you. And that was one of them. And I wanted to share that. It's tough to talk about. Sometimes I choke up like that, but that event there made me pivot again. So
you didn't tell me to bring Kleenex. I'm sitting here tearing up listening to you tell your story, man.
You're looking at Jordo. Yeah, give him a hug, man. Give him a hug.
Jeez,
Give him a hug. Yeah. So guys, y'all are doing this. I see y'all doing this podcast, and I'm like, wow, what a dream, guys.
No.
What a dream. And I'm sure the audience sees it too. They see, the residual earners. But what they need to know is that the residual earners, making money residually and building wealth and all this success, means nothing if you don't have your foundation strong or have these relationships.
No.
You coming over here and spending the time with your dad, at the end of the day, it's a success, whether or not the content was good. You get to smile at this man and y'all get to smile at each other and just be with each other. That's the value there. And a lot of times, like, they need to see that, they need to understand that as an audience, that it starts there, starts with those, important principles and values. And once you can appreciate those values, you can build, like you said, those are the building blocks I use to build success.
Definitely.
It's understanding and protecting those values.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Woo.
Deep. Those are the layers, man.
I'm telling you, you're peeling that onion back.
Yeah.
Jordan was playing in the city championship game. He was quarterbacking for Bussey, and it's a football game, obviously. And I'm sitting up in the stands, and they win it last second. They're running off the field, Kaleb. After the game, and Jordan looks back and sees me, and turns around and runs and climbs up the stairs and gives me a hug, and then runs and gets off the field, and meant the world to me.
Yeah.
Meant the world to me.
It's incredible.
Because he and I, kind of like you and your dad, my gosh, how many balls have I thrown at you?
A lot.
If I had a penny for every flipping baseball I picked up, I wouldn't need to do anything, But no, I appreciate that greatly. And, those moments in your life that really stand out. And when I'm training and talking, I always say, the good Lord's got to be first.
Yeah.
Family's got to be second.
Yeah.
Then your health. Then money.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Because if you get this stuff out of order, then your life gets screwed up.
Yeah.
You got to keep that in order. That I say it all the time. Eternity's too long to be wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, after so that event happens, and I'm running a TV business. I call my original supplier out of San Antonio, who I was buying TVs out of his garage, and he had a business front, but then he had this, hey, come to my house and you can buy these cash type deal. Said, hey man, buy my contracts, buy my inventory. I'm done. I was in a time where I didn't know what anything was. I just couldn't wrap my head around life, and called him up and he said, all right, I'll give you $50,000 for the contracts, and I'll buy your inventory. I said, okay, well, yeah, let's do it. And I was discounting my TVs heavily and sort of breaking even on the inventory, but he wanted the residual income off of the contracts, those quarterly fees that he was getting from the hotels.
Residual, that's a good word.
Yeah, a great word. So I said yes. I was 20. I go up to his house to go get paid, and this guy loved cash. So whips out $50,000 in cash, and on his driveway he had this red 2007 Porsche, and at the time it's 2010, and I said, Alex, how much for your Porsche? And he said, I'll sell it to you for $20,000. And I found out it was a salvage title. So I was like $20,000 for an 07 Porsche. That's cheap. He's like, yeah, but it's salvage title. It doesn't matter. Salvage title doesn't matter. I said, man, how many miles does it have? 20,000 miles. Wow, that's incredible. He's like, salvage title, baby. It's where all the deals are. I'm like, all right. So I was like, well, take off 20,000 and just give me 30,000 cash. So I arrange it, and I actually had a friend with me that day. So he drives my truck, and I hop in that Porsche with a big old smile. Had basically, walked away from a TV business. Now I could focus on engineering school. Now I've got a nice new Porsche I can drive around and show off. And for the next 3 months, I'm in what I would refer to as a valley in my life, a valley of emotion, a valley of, I don't know if you call it depression, probably grief. Yeah. And I'm going to the bar, I'm drinking, I'm partying, I'm showing off this red Porsche everywhere I can. I'm the man, me, just trying to replace all of this, this grief, these emotions. I'm just trying to distract myself for the next 3 months. And after those 3 months are over, I'm reminded that no matter how much I try to distract myself, I'm not changing reality. And I'm definitely the same person that I was before the event happened, before I lost my dad, before I sold this business. I'm the same guy. I came from the same place. I'm just a kid from the valley. And I was reminded of that. And I said, okay, I need to get rid of this Porsche. I need to stop messing around at these bars. And I need to get my ass back in engineering school and focus. And because that's what my dad would have wanted. Yeah. So I do that, and put my Porsche on Craigslist. And what do you know? That's how I become a car dealer. So I start flipping cars. At the age of 2021, I start flipping cars, classics, sports cars. And, I put it on Craigslist, and I learned about trading cars. So I start trading cars title for title. And I ended up trading that Porsche for a 03 Hummer plus 1,000 cash. I traded the 03 Hummer for a 1972 split bumper Camaro. Traded the 1972 split bumper Camaro for $10,000 cash in a truck. I remember that. And I start leveling up, and I start making more money than I'm making in the TV business. And it just naturally just unfolded. And the coolest part is I'm going to school Monday through Thursday, and I'm on Craigslist throughout Monday and Thursday. But then Friday, Saturday are my travel days. I'm going to Dallas, I'm going to Houston, I'm going to San Antonio to go either pick up a car, sell a car, or go trade a car. And I'm now working on the weekends, going to engineering school, stacking up some money. And so let's fast forward. I saved myself around $250,000. And I'm in engineering school. I'm now 23. I'm about to graduate. And I meet this programmer in computer class. It was some computer engineering class, like a programming class. And I go into the classroom and I meet this guy, and he's just there coding. And I said, man, I've got a great idea. I know that's how it started. I got this great idea. I think we can launch a social network. And at the time, there's no TikTok, there's no Snapchat, there's no Instagram's real young. Facebook's real young. I said, I want to create a website that you can share photos to, and wherever you go in the world, you can see what's happening around you. And then I want to make it into an app. And he looks at me. He's like, that's a great idea. That is a good idea. I was like, can you code it? He's like, I can try. And so for the rest of the semester, we're coding this app, this mobile app. We call it Spotagory. It's a location-based social network that wherever you go, you can choose the category. So, for instance, nightlife or sports and fitness, and you can choose these different categories, restaurants, and you can see what's happening around you based on that category. And so I launched it on my campus, and I start sharing it all over my campus. We launched it as a website, and at the time, I've got people in different colleges and different schools, and I'm 23, and then I graduate, and I start creating a bunch of buzz, and I then set an app store launch date, and I'm paying my partner at the time to program it. He's like, man, this is past my expertise. We need to hire more people. We need to hire some programmers. And I said, well, I'm going to go to Dallas. You want to come with me? And he's like, well, what are you going to Dallas for? I was like, man, I'm going to find a warehouse. I'm going to get my dealer's license. And I'm going to get my dealer's license. And if this thing kicks off, we can focus on this. We can do this full time while I sell cars. So I find a rental home in Coppell. I get a warehouse in Carrollton, Texas, 1,800 square feet. For at the time, I think it was 1,800 square feet. I know it was $1,800 a month. I get the warehouse. I get the home. I move our HQ into the home. I have a bunch of programmers working there full time, and we're developing this mobile app set to launch in the App Store, 2014. I graduated from college in 2013, and that I think it was April of 2014 we launched into the App Store, and I've got server costs. I'm spending $10,000, $12,000 a month on at this point. I've got so much data coming in once we launched. So we launched the app, and we within weeks have 10,000, 15,000 users. It went quick, and it was a lot of the people that knew us, right? We were just building a lot of attention around what we were doing. And then we start focusing on different schools. I have different people, like ambassadors at different colleges, that were telling their friends and getting the word out. And then Good Morning Texas, there was someone that I knew that knew someone at Good Morning Texas, and that person said, you need to be on Good Morning Texas. So we launch. A couple weeks in, we've got 10, 15,000 subscribers or downloads, and someone from Good Morning Texas reaches out. Hey, come on the show. I said, cool. Heck yeah, let's do this. I want to blast this thing off. So remember, my server costs like $10,000 a month from all the data being downloaded. And go on Good Morning Texas. Really cool experience there. I was at the American Airlines Center. That's where they shoot it. Yeah. And big cameras, the lights, the show.
Kind of like our set here.
Yeah, it was pretty much the same thing. Yeah. Get on the show and we talk about the app, and it was an opportunity to shine for sure. We were all over TV, all over the state. And sure enough, after the show, the downloads go crazy. We go from 15,000 users to 20, 25, 30 over the next couple of weeks. We double our user base, get a lot of downloads, but then again, server costs. And remember, I'm flipping cars to support this. And I just start seeing my bank account get depleted. I'm going from $200,000 in my bank account as a kid that just graduated college that built that on his own, dollar for dollar, dollar by dollar. And that thing starts getting depleted. And once I go under, $100,000, I'm sweating. I hadn't seen a bank account under $100,000 in a while. And that's my whole net worth.
And it's going the wrong direction.
Yeah, it's going the wrong direction. So I'm happy. There's a lot of people, just rallying behind us. Oh, yeah, this is going to be the next big thing. And I'm internally just sweating. I don't know how to generate revenue. I don't. And I start trying to reach out and trying to figure this out, trying to go to restaurants. Hey, would you like to be put on the top of this feed so that you can get, more traffic your way? I'm trying to figure out how to generate revenue any way I can. And sure enough, the next couple months go by. I cannot figure it out. I can't raise money. I never have raised money before for this social media app, for this type of industry. And I mean, who's going to invest, $1 million in an app? Yeah, I've got a lot of users, but I have no strategy, no experience. So I didn't raise the money. And I start going really low in my bank account. I mean, I was probably down to, I was under $50,000. And for a lot of people, they say, well, that's a lot of money. Well, I get it, but the rate of my
when you got a big burn, it's not a whole lot.
when you got a big burn, it's you could have $1,000 and have a burn of $800 a month. It was the same thing for me. I mean, there's just proportions. So my burn's huge, and I said, guys, I mean, I'm looking around, and again, it was like another failing moment where I'm looking at my family, except I'm not. I'm looking at the user base, and I'm again almost failing my dad because it's like I'm failing myself. I got to shut this thing off. It was like the hardest moment of my life. I had to shut down my own app that I had created a bunch of success on, a bunch of users that were thrilled to use this because I couldn't figure out how to generate revenue. So I decided, make the hard decision, cut it off. So I shut it down till the programmers were done. I mean, again, another big failing moment at the age of 23, 24. And right simultaneously, I get my dealer's license and my good inner circle. And this is the power of community. I don't want to hear, Kaleb, how are you going to make money? Kaleb, how are you going to, I don't want to answer those hard questions, but when things get tough, you've got to be real with yourself. You got to look in the mirror and make those tough decisions. What's right for me? What is right for me? And the community around me, my cousin, who's one of my best friends, and the close people around me said, Kaleb, you got to make money for yourself. You're going to go broke. And I had to listen to that, and I had to, make a very tough decision. So at that point, I pivoted. And I went to my warehouse, and I went full-fledged in the car business at that point, full-time, shut down the mobile app. I had to write an email and put kind of like a letter out to the users and let them know and inform them that, it didn't work, and this is why. And it was another just honest moment. And that was one of my biggest losses. I lost $225,000, $250,000 on that app at the age of 24. And I had to swallow that pill. I was broke, completely broke. And luckily, I had just started dating Kelly. And so I was able to lean on her during this time. And she wasn't my wife at that point, but man, she sure acted like it. I mean, she was a rock for me. And just there giving me, just positive thoughts so I could just build and compound those thoughts and just get myself out of that hole. And what kind of woman, when you're completely broke and you're worth zero, sticks around for the show? What kind of woman?
A good woman.
Right? Yeah. Not a lot will stick around. when a guy's going through that much and she has no attachment, she's not married to you, that's the woman that stuck with me. And that's the woman that's my wife today. And that needs to be remembered. That's something I have to remind myself, is that, even through our marriage and throughout the journey of life, I mean, there's people that are going to stick with you regardless of the amount of money you have, regardless of, what you have to give them. No. There's just people out there, and you got to keep them close. So I pivoted into the car business, and the pivot was not pretty either, but I started to flip classics and flip sports cars. And then the question is, well, Kaleb, how'd you get in the buy here, pay here business? I'm going to go on a podcast this Friday. I've been on theirs before. It's called the Independent Dealer Podcast. And on Friday, they're going to dive back in kind of for a refresher. But they asked me, how'd you get in the buy here, pay here business? Because buy here, pay here is unique. We're loaning money at high interest rates, but we're also taking a lot of risk, as y'all well know, with people that don't have the track record, that are trying to create the track record of success. Yeah. So affordability of the car payment is important, and quality of transportation is important. And me as a kid, and I called myself a kid still at that time, I'm 24 in a warehouse trying to figure out how to make money. I met a guy who was a buy here, pay here dealer on I-35 in Dallas. And I was struggling getting people in the door. I was struggling getting customers in the door and selling cars. And I go over to his place because he asked me to fly a drone for him. I go over his place and I see a line of people out his door. And I'm like, man, how are you selling 10 cars a day? How are you so busy? And he's like, man, it's buy here, pay here. We're financing every car here in-house. I'm like, what is that? In-house financing. He's like, yeah. I'm like, what's the interest rate? He's like, 25%. I'm like, 25%? Who would sign up for that? Like, I'm just so clueless. I'm so naive. And he's like, you would be surprised how many people sign up for that. And I was like, well, can you show me? I was like, I'll buy you a dinner. I mean, just show me, please. Like, I need to hear this. This is wild. So we go to dinner that night, and he says, here's the formula. Here's kind of how this is structured. And I go back to my warehouse that next day, and I have $40,000. I remember this. I have $40,000 to my name, and I go buy 8 $5,000 cars. 8 $5,000 cars. And do you know how boring it is to buy a $5,000 car after buying $40,000 cars? So when you show up to work and you see your inventory that's $5,000 each, you're not that excited. You're not that thrilled after coming from, the business that I was in. But you know what was cool is that my phone started to ring off the hook. When I put on that Craigslist ad, willing to finance in-house, I mean, my phone blew off the hook. And sure enough, within that same month, I lost all my $40,000. You know why? Because I put it on the street.
Yep.
And when it went on the street, I ran out of money, and I was like, uh-oh, where am I going to get more money to run this business?
Yeah, it's coming back a little bitty piece at a time.
Yeah, $500 payments. Now, but let's talk about residual earners. I came from business that was hustle, hustle, hustle. New month, new hustle. New month, reset. And, the power of y'all's message and residual earners and sort of the life that y'all have built for yourselves and the wealth journey that you've been on is built on residual earning. And I was really intrigued with that concept. And that's the power of buy here, pay here as well. The buy here, pay here business, if done right, you can build a residual income. And so my thought was, okay, if I can exchange a $40,000 investment for 8 cars, and I can exchange those 8 cars for $500 payments, now per month, I can exchange $40,000 for $4,000 a month. And over a year's time, I can make 100% of my money back. Just like y'all probably thought. You're like, wow, yeah, I could do the same. And that's residual earning, is the power of finding a business model that you can convert into a subscription-based model, into a payment plan. And that's what I was attracted to at that time, because I was so tired of just hustling and resetting that calendar. Like the audience probably watching, they're asking themselves, how can I stop hustling? Well, I'll tell you what, it's very hard in the beginning. My first 3 years in buy here, pay here were the roughest, because when that customer didn't pay, guess what? That payment didn't come free. That payment would stop. And in the minute it stopped, I had to go get my car, because I was exchanging an affordable payment plan and quality transportation for that payment. And when the payment stopped, I had to go get my car. And you think I like that? Absolutely not. Where I'm from, I'm thinking everyone's going to make their payment. Why wouldn't they? And I'm lending based on emotion.
Wrong.
I'm like, you're a good person. You deserve a car. You deserve a car. You deserve a car. Everybody, come on. Meet me at the auto cave. Y'all deserve cars. Sure enough, I had enough people that taught me that they don't deserve cars. Yeah. And that I needed to conduct business, and that business sometimes is not pretty, and repoing a car, the process is not pretty. I didn't like it. I had thought so many times in that season of life, I wanted to quit. It was almost, it made me feel immoral. And there was a lot of times where I had to lean into people and ask them, is this right? Is this right? Should I be repoing this person's car? Should I be doing this? Should I be setting them up on a payment plan? Are we a loan shark? All these questions, that people may define buy here, pay here business as. And, the people in the world that need quality transportation and affordable financing, they need more operators like us. And I'm not here to tote my ego or anything like that. I'm saying that the character and the principles that I hold are important when it comes to running a business like what we run, because I could take advantage of many areas of this business and people, and there needs to be better operators, especially in the state of Texas, especially in the United States. that are part of this business, or any business for that matter,
Yeah.
right? Those operators need to be vetted, and they need to hold certain principles in order to conduct this business, because this business can be ugly. And I've said to myself, the reason I'm in this business is to make it different, to be different, to treat people differently. It doesn't mean that they're going to keep their car and have a free car and not have to, commit to the payment plan that they originally committed to. But my approach on it is, maybe I can be the difference. Maybe I can make a small difference. And that's by, creating affordable financing with quality transportation. That's something that was missing, that pair there, those two items. So that's the journey that I went on, and I found financing. I busted my head. I ran out of money, and I had to borrow money from a loan shark. So it was borrowing money from a loan shark and then loaning it out like a loan shark. Borrowing money at high interest rates. I was borrowing money at 36% the first 3 years, effectively 36%. I was borrowing money from specialty finance companies, is what they're called, and taking that loan and then loaning money at 25% and making my money on the gross margin of the car, on the sale of the car. And I was so frugal. In order to just survive, I had to be so tight. I had to repo the car on time. I had to watch every little detail all the way through. And what changed my entire career and what really built wealth for me was in 2017, so 3 years later, I started what's called a reinsurance company. And the reinsurance company gave me the ability to offer affordable insurance to all of our customers. And now we were able to, and through that time, we had 500 customers on the street, then 1,000 customers on the street, then 1,500 customers on the street. And by offering a reinsurance program or insurance product, we were able to give them the ability to reduce their insurance obligation. Because a lot of these people, maybe they don't have a driver's license. Maybe they don't have certain things. Maybe they have a bad driving history. So they were paying $250 a month, $300 a month for insurance. We offered $140 monthly insurance, speaking about residual earning, $140 monthly insurance. So we were able to reduce their costs almost in half, or maybe more. They would sign up on our program, and we were able to convert 95% of our portfolio. So call it, 95% of 1,500 customers into $140 insurance premium per month. And so now we started building, $150,000, $160,000, $175,000 a month coming in per month into a bank account that was designated to pay for total losses. And those total losses, if the total losses are 30% that month, then you're keeping 70% of $175,000. Yep. You're keeping 120, 130, 140 grand. The power of reinsurance is that now I can have two options. I can either loan it to a company and give it to a company for capital, or I can distribute it to myself. Now, I don't want the capital gains tax. I don't want any more income, so I don't need the distribution. So as a choice, in that time in 2017, I decided to plow the income that we were getting and loan it to my real estate company. And my real estate company would then be able to buy assets, buy real estate, buy commercial property, buy single-family residential. And I started to learn, how to work in real estate and run a business parallel to ours, and eventually get into hard money lending also, because there's people out there that I learned that need capital just like I did. Yep. Me in 2016 was my own customer today. A good operator that has great character or good character. Beating my chest here. Shouldn't be doing that. But you get the point. A good operator that has the right intentions, needing the capital to scale their business. And that's where I am today.
Talk a little bit about the lending.
Yeah. So the hard money lending piece, I've come across so many people needing to borrow money for, flipping a home or taking down a piece of land that they have envisioned, a gain for. And it got to a point where, someone approached me. He was actually an attorney, and he heard that I was interested in hard money lending. And he said, "Hey, well, why don't you loan me the money to buy a ranch? And, I want to develop it. I want to fix it up." And it was a ranch out in Tyler, Texas. And the ranch was $900,000. I said, "Man, that's a lot of money." And I said, "But, I would rather learn with you, someone that I know, someone who can teach me, rather than just signing up to loan money to some random stranger. So I was like, I'll do it. So my first loan was for $984,000, something like that was the closing amount. I had him put 2% up front as a fee. So we charged him 2%, and then we held the note for 14% at that time because it was just raw land, and then he paid 2% on the exit. So basically, for the land business, if we're lending on land, there is no tenant. It's not cash flowing. It's pretty high risk. So the hold rate is about 14%. On a property like that or a deal like that, you want to charge the client 2 points in and 2 points out. So you make 4 points on the deal. So if it's $1 million, you make 4 points. And so you make $40,000 on the deal to loan $1 million. But you also make 14% on the hold. And so we did that, and we basically gave him the ability to buy what he wanted to buy at a discounted price because he negotiated with landowners a great price that was discounted because I think the value of the land at the time was like $1.3 million. So he had a deal, and that's what we're looking for. We're basically identifying what is the market value of the land and then lending as a percentage behind that, right? Like giving them an advance rate in a sense. And from there, we gave him the money to buy it. And basically the idea is you'll find financing in the next 3 to 6 months as we hold this property with you, and you will refinance us out. And so this was right before COVID, thank God, because when COVID hit, things got really shaken. But right before COVID, he was able to then refinance. I think it took him 6 months. So he refinanced us, paid us back, plus our 2 points, and hey, good business. And he was able to secure a great ranch. And to this day now, I mean, he still holds it as a family property. It was 125 acres. It was a great deal. It was a smoking deal. It's appreciated a ton, obviously, if you bought it before COVID.
Right.
So, yeah, the hard money lending is a way for us to, involve ourselves with operators and use our extra cash flows from our buy here, pay here business and lend the money to basically compound our wealth. I mean, all about residual earning. This is the idea of hard money lending. It's that, if we can compound our sitting capital at 10%, 12%, 14%, 20%, whatever the goal, maximum amount, right? That's the purpose of it. If we can create good relationships with people around the DFW Metroplex and around Texas that we believe in, that we find are good and true to their word, those are the people that we want to invest in. And sometimes it's not always about the deal structure. In fact, it's not. It's primarily we're looking at the relationship with the person. Is this someone that we can have a lifestyle with? Is this someone that we align with on a long-term basis? Is this someone that we can wrap around our arm and say, hey, you're on the journey with us? Because those relationships go so far and the trust is established, and the deal structure, maybe we shave off a couple points here and there to save them on cost. But because of the relationship being so good, now I don't have a headache of them unable to refinance or, not telling me the truth if something's going south. I want to have the honesty up front. I want to have that relationship. So that's where it starts. When we're thinking residual earning, we're thinking relationship first. Who are the people we want to residual earn with? Definitely. So
this has been a heck of a podcast so far.
Outside of me crying once, I mean, it's all pretty good. I mean,
This has been amazing. What other questions you have?
I'm going to say this, though. If somebody wants to get in touch with you because they need a buy here, pay here car, or they're thinking about they need to borrow some money, tell the folks how they get in touch with you, Kaleb.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so happy to be with these guys on their podcast. They're amazing people. I know them personally, and they've been, they've just been true to their word. So a lot of the people that I've been defining here in this conversation, I mean, this is a set of incredible people. If anyone wants to reach me, what I'm interested in doing is I'm interested in investing in good Texas operators. I'm interested in coaching and mentoring people that want to find success and running parallel with their business. If you would give us the opportunity, my email is Kaleb@assetlendingpartners.com. Assetlendingpartners.com. I'll have Jordan put the link I'll have him do some beautiful editing for that.
We'll see what we can do.
But yeah, you can reach me there at the email. Outside of lending, if you want to go run a marathon, if you want to do a triathlon, if you want to talk health and wellness, if you want to talk faith, I'm here for it, man. We got to balance out our life. Our journey is very short, so it's important that we incorporate all the things, not just money. Residual earning only comes if you take care of your mind, your soul, and from there, everything else will compound.
And one other thing I want to touch on while we still got you here, the new podcast, you got it up and running.
Yeah.
I think you're 3 or 4 episodes in now.
Yeah. Brand new.
So tell the people about the Kaleb Bryan podcast.
Yeah. Trying to find the name there, but
so that's not the official name.
I don't know. We'll see. Okay. We'll see. I'm having fun. I'm having fun bringing on guests. We're gonna have Presley on Thursday. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to be able to trade seats with him.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
And I don't know if he'll make me cry. We'll see. I'll bring the Kleenexes though.
Yeah, have some Kleenex there.
Yeah. So the Kaleb Bryan podcast, it's on YouTube. You can find me on TikTok as well. I'm trying to have fun with my journey and just share, my experiences. And like us all, we're just trying to find our way, and I'm trying to find where I can make my biggest impact. And, holding a podcast like they're doing right now, just to spend time with good people and hear their story, that's part of the impact that we can make is being able to, get Presley's story out there, get Jordan's story out there, and share good stories so that as you're listening, you can take the next most important step, which is act. All this information should help you create a priority. And then from there, you're going to create what's called priority actions, and then just drip it, baby. Drip those actions every single week and watch your life change. So that's what we're there for on the podcast, is sharing the great stories and finding a way to give people inspiration so that they can take action.
I'm going to give you one story going back to Mexico and baseball.
Okay.
So played for Team USA, and the tournament was in Ixtapa, Mexico. And that was not a... It was a pretty, how would you describe that city?
Like South Lake?
Yeah, exactly. The opposite of South Lake. But so
on the far opposite end of South Lake.
So we show up to a game, and there's literally livestock running around on the field. Is
there a fence? How are they on the field?
There's a fence. I think it's one of those where you had the backstop, the dugout fencing, and then from there to the outfield fence, it was open.
Okay.
Those kind of fields.
Yeah.
So there's livestock running around. There's security guards with ARs around the whole perimeter of the place.
It sounds fancy.
It sounds fancy. It's fantastic. And then the one thing, the livestock and stuff, it's a field. I get it, but it had rained, and so there was puddles and here
footprint.
But here you would put the cat litter or whatever on it, and we probably wouldn't have played. But there they get out there with cans of gasoline. Put it all over the infield dirt and set it on fire to dry it up. And so literally they burn all the dirt
before the game.
They dry it up. They get all the animals off, and then we're ready to rock and roll. Never seen anything like it.
Now,
Holy
get this.
cow.
This is teams from all over the world.
Yeah.
This was
here.
Team USA.
Team USA. We were playing Cuba that game, and it's just what is going on here?
Holy cow!
What is going on here?
It was a different experience. I'll say that. And then what the gas didn't burn off. They're out there with sponges and buckets.
I mean, guys like Eric Hosmer were on this team with me, big names in MLB baseball over the last 15 years.
Yeah,
were on this team with me, and dude, it was bizarre.
Yeah, what an experience!
Bizarre.
Man. Yeah, a point I want to make about Kaleb's story, everybody, is that think of this: teenage guy starts flipping TVs, and then the TVs turn into cars, and then the cars turn into real estate, and the real estate turns into lending, and but my whole point is he had that desire inside. I say all the time, if you want something bad enough, you'll figure out how. And as I was sitting here listening to Kaleb tell his story, it was all about him wanting it. I mean, he wanted it, and he figured out a way to make it happen. And I tell all of you guys, you can accomplish anything in life you want to. You're created in God's image. You got greatness inside you. You can do anything, I believe, guys. You got untapped potential. And if you don't believe in yourself, take some of my belief, because I believe you can do it. But that just kind of hit me when you were talking, Kaleb, that it's so much of success is about just believing in yourself and wanting it bad enough.
Yeah, that's it. You know.
So, well, thank you everybody for jumping in. Leave comments down below. Make sure and hit the little bell icon. Subscribe to the channel. We're so grateful that the one and only Kaleb Bryan, host of the Kaleb Bryan Podcast, jumped on with us today, and just can't thank you enough. I know you're busy.
Yeah,
it's
man.
a little bit of a drive out here, so thanks for popping in and jumping on here. And as always, thanks for co-hosting with me.
Love you.
Love you too. And we will be back next week for episode 50.
50.
So awesome. Thank you guys.
See ya.